Right. Hi everyone, my name is Kit, and this is going to be a commentated run of the 80% speed run for the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. As of recording this on the 6th of March 2023, this is the fastest route that is used. And I will be using a few safety strats, but for the most part, this is the fastest route. A few things you'll notice already. First of all, we're playing on the Japanese version. Japanese version is the fastest version. It's not required to do this route. You could do this route on an NTSC English copy or a PAL copy, but I'm using Japanese just because it's the fastest, and the text is about like 2 or 3 minutes faster. So yeah, and also to note, we do have we'll be playing on hero mode. We already have 2 hero mode files set up here, and 1 blank one. That's gonna be important for later, but for now, just know that we'll be playing on hero mode because it's honestly playing on hero mode is actually what makes a lot of the things here possible. And so yeah, without further ado, we're going to get into it. So traditionally, in kind of serious attempts, we'll use 1 file name because of how the text scrolls. If I was playing a marathon or something, then I'd just use, So typically also in this game actually is there'll be like a bid for the file name and we'll use that, for example, but for competitive races and stuff, 1 file name is used. So with that in mind, we will start the run in 3, 2, 1, bam. So the run starts by giving cutscenes. This is the first useful tweak with hero mode. If this is normal mode, we have to watch through all these cutscenes, and that's a bit of a pain. So we don't do that. Right. So. So, during the first Skyloft part, I'm going to do some things that are not seemingly going to be important, like talking to Fledge here. Talking to Fledge is absolutely not required to beat the game under normal circumstances, but we're going to do a few back-in-time shenanigans later, which is going to require certain flags be set on Skyloft. The first of many of which being talking to Fledge, and I'll mention a few as we go. So here you can see this is kind of like the first introduction to the text. If you're familiar with the English version of the game, you'll notice how it's scrolling quite fast, quite faster. Again, English loses about 2 or 3 minutes just from the text speed. So that's kind of the most notable thing there. And again, you'll notice how it scrolls. This is why one character file names are optimal in this game. So we do a bit precise movement there to get past the text trigger, and we're going to be saving the Remlet, Zelda's cat, basically. Again, similar to Fledge, this actual activity is not required to beat the game under normal circumstances. Normally, you could just, like, after Horwell is the dude's name, or after you talk to him, you can kind of just run past him and go meet Zelda. But again, saving the Remlet here actually sets a specific flag that will be particularly useful. Almost jumped all the way down, but thankfully I didn't. So yeah, again, that'd be a common theme on Skylofts is just kind of doing certain things that seemingly won't be required, but actually are very useful so we can do certain iterations of back in time later. And I'll be talking about back in time. You're probably like, what is that? Well, I'm going to pretty much show you, because here is the first iteration of said glitch. Let me just focus on this killing post right here. Yep, that is, no joke, the hardest movement in the game. I'm only half joking. Right, so, for those uninitiated, back in time is a glitch that's in kind of modern 3D Zeldas, with the exception of being Breath of the Wild. So the 3 modern before that, so Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess, and the Wind Waker, where, okay, at least in this context, after dying, we will continue the game and reset the console. And what this will do is that this will the game will kind of do both at the same time, and so then we'll be able to play as Link on the title screen. So, continue and reset. I hit the reset button on the console. You can alternatively do this from the home menu, but using the console is just faster. So now you notice everything is kind of a bit wrong. You know, you're not meant to be playing on title screen. Right here. And again, this works in Wind Waker, TP, and Skyward Sword. Not entirely like that with like Twilight Princess, for example. It's done with a void out rather than a death, but it's still a thing. And what's different about Skyward Sword though is back in time is way more powerful in this version of the game. In Twilight Princess, it's used to save a few things in the 80% speedrun. In Wind Waker, it's practically useless. In Skyward Sword, because we can access the file select menu here and these bird statues here, you can actually do a lot with this glitch. So originally, I'm going to select this file and save. And what this will do is this will put file 1 onto the back-in-time layer of Scarlet. And this certain layer, or this certain state of Scarlet, has a few useful things that we're going to take advantage of. Most notably being this, the door to the goddess statue is basically just not here, so we can just kind of walk right in here. And we're going to be grabbing the goddess sword. We won't be keeping it, we will have to grab this later on our run file, but we do just need the goddess sword to do another action here. Yeah. Hey Whale, how's it going? For those watching on YouTube, if I start randomly talking, I'm live streaming this as well, so I might just be like talking to chat and stuff. So we now have the goddess sword, and with a bit of whack movement right there, we hit the crest. Also nice music. The music with the file select and the music in back of because I'm getting a bit overlaid and a bit funky. So we're going to do a few more actions here in this kind of iteration back in time. And so what's interesting actually is that how do I explain it? So basically we placed the emerald tablet back in time, which allows us to go to the Farron region. And we did this whilst in the state of back in time. So whilst this cutscene is playing, I'm going to start the file, and the flag that that is set will be now put onto file 1 because we started at a certain time. And also notice how we're on this sort of washed out version of Scarlet. That was from saving file 1 on back in time, otherwise known as a bit save. So anyway, so the point of that iteration of back in time basically is that I started the file at a very specific moment of that cutscene, and that set the flag that the Farron pillar is basically open and the emerald tablet is set. So now, later on you'll notice that there'll be a green glow in just like randomly. That'll be because the game thinks that file 1 has placed the emerald tablet, but actually we just did that back in time, we just transferred it to our file. That is known as, that kind of technique of back in time is known as reverse bit magic, and if you're already confused, that's fine. This game is very confusing. It's only going to get worse from here, so, yeah, but that's kind of like the basics. So, a lot of the iterations of back in time that we use is that we set certain scene flags from back in time and apply it to our file. So here, we have the emerald tablet right here. Yeah, like we did that in back in time. We just set that flag over to file 1. If you're already confused, same. It says way in the chat. Yeah, honestly. So yeah. And yeah, we didn't keep the goddess sword in back in time because we didn't start the file upon getting the goddess sword. We didn't set that flag, we just set the emerald tablet flag. So we did have to get that normally in on file 1 here. So anyway, now we are kind of just, you know, going through Skyloft, you know, pretty much normally. The only real like for the next few minutes, the only real difference is that we now have a the goddess sword, which we shouldn't have at this point, but we do have it. So hooray! So just a bit of funky stamina management. And actually, I think now as we're kind of rolling around Skyloft, it might be a good idea to talk about the movement here. So, if you're familiar with most of the Zelda games, you'll notice that rolling is very, like, you know, in Wind Waker and Twilight Princess stuff, rolling is very common. Rolling is also fast in Skyward Sword, but we now have the ability to run, which is every roll you. So for example, comparing rolling to sprinting. Rolling each time saves 1 frame, but it depletes more of your stamina. So now the game is actually quite interesting where you have to kind of manage your stamina. Also, just kind of side note, again, entering and exiting this building, Wyra's house here. Again, another example of we're setting some flags on this file so that we can use them in back in time later. But yeah, no, you notice how I'm rolling at certain points. And not at others. Again, that's kind of me managing my stamina, so I'm getting the most out of my stamina wheel, but also I'm trying to roll a decent amount. I just also pass these pesky logs. We just have a bit of cave movement here. Another weird thing about Skyward Sword is that ledges are really weird, so I'm going to attack. So it's like kind of, I'm going to go at that ledge at a very specific angle, because if I didn't, I'd kind of, Link wouldn't really jump off, it's really weird. So here I'm going to take a bit of damage. Another useful thing about hero mode is that we take double the damage. So I can just like, you know, get 2 hits from that chew, sorry, and then I'm already down to optimal health. So here's Zelda. She's just, you know, she's just vibing. I mean, hey, the whole game series is kind of named after her, so. So yeah, just with this text, just before we go ahead and kind of save our Loftwing, because story-wise, you know, people on Skyloft fly around with birds. We don't have a bird. Well, we do have a bird, but Groose, you know, Groose being Groose kind of locked up our bird. If you don't know who Groose is, it's pretty tragic, not gonna lie. Groose is one of the best characters in this game. And he was kind of like, he kind of a bit of a bully. He kind of locked up our bird, so we had to go get our bird. Just before I do that, again, copying file 1 to file 3. That will be fairly useful later on, because you're about to activate Back in Time again. Back in Time in this game is so useful that we end up doing it quite a lot of times. I believe there's 15 iterations of Back in Time. Also, you know, Farron Pillar just kind of chilling in the background. So yeah, I believe we do it about 15 times, so Link dies a lot in this run. Alright, there's my Loftwing split. I am 3 seconds ahead of world record. That's kind of nice. I take that. But yeah, obviously this will be a no reset run, so I don't expect to hit any records today. I'm just kind of talking through the game and stuff like that. So now we're in the tutorial. We will see this tutorial again. This will not be the last time we see this tutorial because of, you know, some funky game shenanigans. But just for now, we're just going to kind of do this tutorial as intended. Just going to, you know, play by the rules. Mainly because we can't really do anything else. We can't, you know, dive off our Loftwing yet. We don't have any other flags yet. And again, yeah, as I've mentioned before, this Farron Pillar is open because of the iteration of Back in Time that we did. So, you know, just kind of vibing. So next up is kind of an infamous trick in Skyward Sword Speedrun, the Wing Ceremony cutscene skip. So we're going to be given a save prompt here. And after the save prompt, we'll be given 2 frames that we can do a side hop. If I can do a side hop, then I will essentially skip this cutscene. So we'll save, and then I need to try and time this. I messed it up. So, normally, if I did this correctly here, Link would have jumped to the side and I'd been able to, you know, kill him quickly. But because I am bad at this game, I didn't get the side hop, unfortunately. So, it's fine. PB is dead. Oh well. So now we just do a backup strat here. Because really all we have to do here, we just kind of have to die by... we just have to kind of just die, right? To activate Back in Time again. So, notice these barrels here, right? We are going to pick up one of these barrels, and we're going to throw it. We are going to do that again. And I'm going to keep doing that until the barrels get to this kind of slope here. In that case, the barrel should, in theory, roll down the slope into us, and we should, in theory, die from the barrels, unless it just kind of wants to do this. There we go. Okay. Hooray, now we dead. So, missing the cutscene skip loses around, like, a few seconds here and there. And by a few, I mean, like, 40 seconds is quite a lot. So, again, this was an optimal. It's whatever. So, back in time. So now this one is a little bit more confusing, and it might be a little bit harder to explain. So, now, at the start, we had 2 hero mode files. We are going to take advantage of this here. We're going to do a technique known as file duping. So essentially, we're going to select file 2 and then come back to the splash screen here. And then we're going to kind of save the statue in a very, very specific way. And for whatever reason, what that will do is it will kind of save, by saving in that sort of way, we're going to kind of, we're going to put a lot of the properties from file 3 over to file 2. So now it doesn't look like it, but there's like... File 2 is kind of a weird, like, new game thing. Like, when I select it, it defaults to the C file name, which I've been using. So now we're going to jump jump off Skyloft and start the file here. I'm using a bit of a safety strat that loses about 2 seconds, but just that failing this iteration of back in time is very, very bad. Also, yeah, whale. Yeah, no, I know you mean, you know, like, what bot intrusion? I didn't see a bot. Anyway, so, anyway, back to the game. Now, right, confusing stuff has happened, basically. Stuff that I probably couldn't explain very well. But, essentially, we've kind of got a bunch of flags set on this file, and we are now playing on file 2. One flag we don't have on this file yet is the saved Loftwing. Nice, kind of a double hit there. We haven't saved Loftwing because remember we did that on file 1, not file 2. And so basically we now have to die, right? And because file 3 was saved here, the game kind of again takes properties from file 3 and saves file 2 here just normally. And so now you know we have to go save our Loftwing again. Yeah, and so the other way of dying previously there was with that Gwei there. That Gwei is kind of... There aren't really many RNG elements in this game, but that's kind of one of them. Well, ultimately you'll get hit by that Gwei twice or like 3 times. That was kind of a weird... you know, it was kind of weird, you know. I kind of got hit once, but then the Gwei kind of just ran into me. So I'm just going to be doing a bit of counting here. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11... 12, 13, 14, I'm going to jump off. So now, I guess, because we've now, because we loaded into the sky onto this file, just like the regular sky, we now have the ability to dive. So we were in the tutorial again, well, we kind of still are, but now we can dive to this Farron pillar. The reason why we have to dive is because the tutorial has this sort of boundary that we have to stay in, or that the Loftwing have to stay in, sorry. And us, you know, Link can just go through that boundary just by diving. This will be something that'll be used later on as well. So you kind of see, you know, there's a lot of that was the time loss from the missing the Wind Ceremony cutscene skip. If you're, you know, a lower tier runner and you miss it, it's not big of a deal. But you know, when you're at the top level, every second does count. And as you can see in my best possible time, it's already above PB. So unless I get about 10 golds, this is impossible to PB. But that being said, we keep going. So now we're in the Farron region. Way earlier than intended, you'll notice, because you know, there's a few things missing, like the Deku Barbers in the fence. We're not really meant to be here right now, and so you know, what's the next logical thing to do? Oh, it's only to do another iteration of Back in Time, of course. So that's what we'll be doing here. So game over. Continue and reset the console here. Now, this is the most confusing iteration of Back in Time. So, if you can understand this, well done. If you can't, don't worry about it. So, we are going to copy file 3 to file 1. File 1 doesn't have any more properties that we need, so we'll copy file 3 over to that. Then we're going to bonk into file 3 here, because that will set some useful things onto Skyloft. We'll copy file 2 to file 3 here. Because, you know, once we bonked into it, we don't really need file 3 anymore. And we kind of still already have file 3 because it was on file 1. Evidenced by the fact that when I select this, the gates open because we bonked into into the tree with file 3, which is now file 1. So we can bit save file 3 because we want the coordinates from file 3 to be here. And we'll select file 1 again just to open the gates. Come back down here and run here, and we're going to access the sky in Back in Time. This will be something that we'll do later on in the run as well, and we're going to be entering this loading zone with file 3. So, that was a mouthful, but basically we did a bunch of file setup and we set some coordinates on our file that essentially is going to make this iteration of Back in Time possible. Because spoiler, we're going to be skipping the entirety of the first Farron region, and we're going to be warping into the first dungeon. So that's cool. Right, so now we're just going to dive into this pillar here. Again, kind of going outside of the bounds here. Selecting file 1, then selecting file 3, just because of how the cutscene kind of works. We don't want to set file 3 too early, otherwise the game will crash. Side note, Back in Time crashes a lot. So we do a lot of kind of funky file stuff, to like selecting certain files to get around that. Because yeah, you're not really meant to be playing now, so the game doesn't really know what you're doing. So again, we'll be loading into this area with file 1. When you load into an area back in time, a lot of the scene flags and a lot of the flags in general from that file will persist onto that next area. That'll be particularly useful later on, but just note that that's kind of why we select certain files when we enter certain places. Nice, I messed that up. There we go. Right, and also, just a side note, I'm kind of starting the file, because for whatever reason, starting the file as you enter does not actually start the file. It actually makes the loading time slightly faster. I don't really know why, but hey, that's just how it works. So now we're kind of in Farron here. And so again, we're going to do a little bit more... Like, this iteration of Back in Time is actually why we did a lot of the, like, the kind of flag setting on Skyloft. I think we already used, like, a decent amount of it there with the, with, like, a few logs already being set down. I can't remember which specific iteration of, well, which flag specifically that said, but oh well. Again, it was just useful that we had a lot of those flags early on our files. So I'm gonna save file 1 here, so, file 1 is kind of set there. I'm actually going to die in Back in Time. We are now getting meta. I'm just copying the files here just so that I have a way of using my thumbstick without actually, you know, starting any files here. And so basically we kind of need to reload. We need to reload Back in Time with certain certain flags from file 1. Because for some reason, for some flags, just entering the area doesn't actually do enough. We need to actually reload the area whilst we're in it, and that's why we die. So now, as I run through here, you'll notice that once we get to it, you'll notice that the vine to the deep woods is actually down. I know the example here that this vine being down corresponds with entering and exiting Wyra's house, which is why we seemingly did that for no reason. Again, if we didn't do that, that road wouldn't be down. So we're going to enter here with file 3. Now I'm going to do a little bit more file juggling here. Select file 1. Select file 3. Skip the cutscenes. Select file 3 again. And so now we're kind of at the entrance of Skyview, right? We kind of just ran past the entirety of Farron, right? So now I'm going to start the file. And then skip the cutscene. And essentially, we're going to be kind of warping into the dungeon by doing this. This technique is known as a reverse bit warp, because it's kind of like a back in time warp, but it's kind of like, you know, it's reverse in a way. I'll get to why it's the reverse of a bit warp when we actually do some bit warps. But essentially, you know, we did some funky stuff in Back in Time to get to the entrance of Skyview, and once we were there, we warped into it with file 3. So for the moment. For the next, like, say, like 10 or 15 minutes, we're going to be playing on file 3. We will finish the game on file 1, however. So essentially, again, the mid-game is we're just going to be beating some dungeons just to set certain flags on our files. So, you know, so we walked deep into Skyview. Again, that was with the coordinates that we set way back at the start of the RBN. Or RBW, sorry, the reverse bit warp. So now we're just going to get past the spider. And not die. That was kind of close. Dying here is very scary because your reset point is on Skyloft. So yeah, you don't want to die here. So for that reason, we are actually going to save at the statue here. But yeah, no. We walked quite a bit way into Skyview, so we did have to reset. Or not reset. Sorry, we had to reload the area, which is why we went into that other room and killed that. I want to say his name's a Stoldra. I can't actually remember what his name is. Like, you know, the 3-headed slug thing. That's why we killed that thing. Anyway, so now we've saved. So if we die, it's not the end of the world. So now we're just gonna go get the boss key and beat the boss right now. You'll notice if you played the game, you'll notice that we don't have any of like the B-wheel items. We don't have the slingshot. We don't have the beetle. We don't have anything like that. So we're gonna have to resort to Scourge Strikes to hit this. Yeah, we don't end up actually, in the 80% run, we don't end up collecting any B-wheel items whatsoever. And a lot of that, you'll notice in the second dungeon, the Earth Temple, we'll do certain things to kind of get around that. Yeah. So here's the first boss key. Looks like a H. Let's just is kind of funny. So I'm going to kind of go back on these vines. This is more technical than it actually looks. You're not meant to really go backwards on these vines. You're really meant to do an alternate route, but oh well. So, yeah. Everyone in chat, get your H's in. There's kind of like a running theme in a running joke in the Skyward Sword community that all the boss keys look like letters. Like, I mean, this one obviously meant to look like a H. Less so, but the one in Earth Temple, some people say it looks like a D. And then there's like others. There's like a Q in Fire Sanctuary, and there's like other dungeons that we don't actually see. So anyway, now we're in the first boss fight, the first iteration of Girihim. So this fight is somewhat RNG dependent in a lot of ways. He can either throw darts at you, attack you, or hold his sword up. You don't want darts. Also, there's a kind of quick attack here you can get. I didn't get that. Again, that's kind of RNG. So there, darts. You don't want that because you can't do any damage to him when he's doing that. But here you can do it if he charges at you or he holds his sword up like that. So essentially, good Girihim RNG looks like basically like 0 darts. Which does happen, it's not very likely, and I've only ever had it happen to me like once or twice, and I've been playing this game like half a decade, but it does happen. The most common number, like the average, you get about 3. I wouldn't say it was about 2 or 3, I wasn't really paying attention, but yeah. 2 or 3 darts with no kind of quick attack at the start. So that's about, you know, average RNG there. And yeah, I guess that's one of the good things about Skyward Sword is that really this and the Gwei are the only forms of RNG. And they only lose about, like, a few seconds if they're bad. Which, of course, at the top level will matter, but, you know, if you're just starting out, it's not a huge deal. So, we have beaten the Skyview Temple, the first temple. So, whilst we kind of go through the dungeon, I'm going to kind of talk over the general route of the NE%. So, in NE%, there's... The goal of NE% is essentially to get to the boss rush minigame as fast as possible. And we can actually do that on our first Lanayru trip with a few back-in-time shenanigans. I'll get into it later. So, essentially, the first, like, 2/3 of the game is essentially trying to get to the Lanayru Desert as fast as possible. The Lanayru Desert, you access that by essentially completing the Earth Temple, which will give you the Amber Tablet, which allows you to go to the desert. In order to beat the Earth Temple, you need the Elden Tablet, or the Ruby Tablet, sorry, as it's called. And in order to get the Ruby Tablet, you need to beat the Skyview Temple, which is this temple right here. So we've beaten this dungeon, and then we will be making our way to Elden, where we'll beat the Earth Temple. So the general route is we beat the first 2 dungeons, and then we kind of do some stuff in Lanayru, and then we'll be at the end of the game. Again, I'll get into it later. I'll get into specifics later, but that's the general gist of the NE% category right now. So save and resets, just because it's faster to get back to the fast select menu that way right now. And we need to die, unsurprisingly. And so, the best way to die right now is select file 2 and then jump off a cliff. So, oh, he dead. So, we're going to be going to Elden. First, we need to actually place the Ruby Tablet in the goddess statue. I guess we could just, like, fly out of Skyview and do it, but it's way faster to kill ourselves and back in time, and then warp file 3 into the goddess statue. So, we're going to be, you know, a fairly common theme. We're going to be bonking into a tree here with a certain file selected. File 1, file 1 has certain flags. I mentioned this previously, but file 1 has certain flags that when selected and loaded into back in time will open these doors, which is kind of handy. So with this iteration of back in time, what we want to do here is we want to kind of make our way over to this, to the statue here, and then start the file and then roll into it, and by kind of doing that, we load file 3 into the goddess statue, and now, because file 3 has the Ruby Tablet, we can just kind of place it here, and now we have access to the Elden region, so that's quite nice. Yeah, I'm just gonna, like, stop talking for, like, 5 seconds, because I can tell my voice is starting to give away, so enjoy this lovely cutscene. and that cutscene's kind of balked, I believe is the technical term. Because this is the second tablet we've placed, although the game thinks it's the first. Again, it's complicated. So now we have the tunic, right? Because again, the game's kind of confused. It thinks it's the first tablet we've placed, but it isn't. But it is at the same time. Yeah, the game is probably as confused as you are right now. So now we have access to the Elden region. And we also have the tunic on file 3, which will actually be useful for later. So now we die. And then we actually do a iteration of back time to get into Elden. So, continue, reset. We're going to be going back into back in time. And yeah, so we're going to do another iteration of where we go into Farron bit. So select file 1 here again, just to kind of do a little bit more file juggling. Again, like the difficult thing about the biggest difficulty about this game, about running it, is not necessarily how difficult the tricks are. And there's a few later up, especially in the Earth Temple, which I'll talk about as we go, that are kind of hard. Like Key Seed, Bonfire, Scaldera, you know, all that stuff. But like the back in time stuff itself actually isn't too difficult. What is difficult is paying attention to what file you have selected. Because if you have the wrong file selected at the wrong time, things can go wrong very quickly, and sometimes you can like kind of soft lock yourself and you have to like redo an iteration of back in time. It's not very nice. So again, similar to the iteration of back in time where we went into Skyview, right now we're just going to go, you know, jump off our Loftwing, and we are going to essentially go ahead and dive into this to kind of get to the Farron mission. This is, I'm cutting it a little bit close, I won't lie, I'm not, you know, it's not great. But yeah, select file 1 just so it doesn't crash, and once the camera's kind of past link, we're going to again select file 2. Yeah. Hey guys, you want to watch the Wii Motion Plus? No, I don't either. Right, so I'll run through here. The log is not down. Oh well, we'll just press A and oh look, the log is down. Again, some funky file stuff. You know, applying some of the flags from file 3 onto bit. Alright, so now we are here. The whole reason why we went to Farron was to bit save file 3 here to get the coordinates from here onto file 3. So now we are going to go back into the sky because we're done here pretty much. Selecting file 2 again, just because file 2 has some good properties that we want the sky to have, right? And also having file 2 selected here will allow us to dive off our Loftwing because it just has the file selected for that. Again, that's what I mean. Like, if I were to exit with like file 1 or something, then I wouldn't be able to dive off my Loftwing. I believe, anyway. Again, you need to make sure that you have the correct file selected at the right time. Otherwise, again, some things aren't possible. Right, so we're now going to kind of, you know, do this, jump off here. Select file 3 because we want to kind of. We want to jump back on. I think no, we're fine. I think. Yeah, we're fine. So select, jump back on with file 3, because file 3 again has the Amber tablet, Ruby tablet, sorry. And so it's invisible, but it's loaded in because we still have file 3 selected. We're going to start file 3 at a very specific time, and what that will do, it will warp file 3 into Elden, and so we are now here. And again, because we saved at the statue, we saved file 3 at the statue in the sealed grounds in Farron. The game applies those coordinates to Elden, and now we are way out of bounds. Yeah, this is, you know, I mean, you've heard, you know, Tears of the Kingdom coming up. You know, this is Breath of the Wild 2, for real, guys. You know, climbing these epic mountains and stuff. So, you know, this movement here, again, because you're not meant to be here, the movement here will be a little bit more technical. And I do have to kind of pay attention a little bit to what I'm doing here, otherwise this doesn't quite work. So kind of run against the slope here. Save stamina for this part here. Remember that I need to kind of run up this slope at a very specific time. If I keep running up the previous slope, I'll end up just kind of falling into the lava. And again, just kind of, you know, just like, you know, learning the semi-precise movement here, and just kind of, you know, it's not too difficult when you understand it, but it's just like everything in this game. If you don't understand it, it's pretty challenging. So we're just go here, side hop. Then we're gonna jump down, and we do want to take a little bit of damage from, you know, we're gonna kill ourselves again. Again, common theme in this run. And so yeah, now we are at the entrance to Earth Temple. Unfortunately, the Earth Temple is not open. You know, you kind of need some key pieces. If you're familiar with the vanilla game, this is vanilla. If you're familiar with the casual playthrough, you will notice that, you know, you need 5 key pieces to enter. We're going to do some more back in time just to kind of, you know, just pry open the doors, because, you know, we can do that. We're epic speedy gamers. So that's cool, just great. So you know, back in time right here. And so, you know, we are just going to make way down here. So what we're going to do here, we're going to do an iteration of reverse bit magic, similar to kind of what we did with the Emerald Tablet placement at the start of the game. But here we're going to do it for scene flags. Scene flags work a little bit differently. Now, the Emerald Tablet that we placed earlier, that was a story flag. So in order to have said that, we need to place the Emerald Tablet in back in time, and that would have placed the Emerald Tablet on a fast. Scene flags are kind of weird. They will share their own like, each area will have their set of scene flags, and they'll kind of share each other. And so, like, certain scene flags overlap. For example, Earth Temple being open and pushing this gravestone here, as scene flags, they overlap. So I'm just going to set the scene flag in back in time, and apply that scene flag to file 3, which is in Elden, and so we are now inside Earth Temple. And this is a difficult part of the run, I won't lie. So remember how we didn't get any B-roll items like the slingshot or the beetle? Yeah, this is kind of this is kind of like a test of that, right? So normally in the game, as you'll hear, you get to this point and you're meant to sort of, you know, cut this part down with the beetle. But we don't have the beetle, so we instead had to resort to a trick called Keys Yeet. If you're familiar with Sword and Shield Skip in Twilight Princess, this trick is somewhat similar to that. That almost failed for a sec. I was almost too far right, but we're good. So, you know, we lure the Keys there, hope that the Keys gives us some good RNG, so he's like, you know, my dude's in the right place. And then we strike the Skyward Sword at the right time, and in the right position, and then we can just kind of, you know, get through. Again, that trick is fairly precise, and it's a bit of a run killer. And again, I almost failed it, but I didn't, so hooray. Right, so again, you know, and again, one thing to note is that the first item that you get in a casual playthrough is the slingshot, and we didn't get the slingshot, and so because the game expects you to get the slingshot first, it doesn't. You can't get any other B-wheel item without getting the slingshot first. So the bomb bag is like right next to us. It's like in like the room to the right, but we can't get it or we can't access it because again we don't have the B wheel unlocked, right? But never fear. There's a back in time for everything these days. So you know we're just gonna kind of skip the bomb bag. So okay, right here. This is interesting. I am deliberately staying on this sort of initial kind of splash screen right here. Because I don't want any of the files to set certain scene flags that will messes up. So I'm kind of using this like, you know, Wii Motion Plus tutorial here to kind of keep on the thing here. And we want, now as I enter the academy here, I want the academy to be in a very specific layer. Kind of like the first layer of the game. And again, that's only possible if we didn't select any files beforehand. So, and on this layer, you know, we've got our friend Pippets here. So we're gonna, you know, do this, start the file, clear the last text box. Again, similar to the last iteration of back in time we did. Talking to Pippet here sets a scene flag so that when we go in here, this cutscene is now playing because talking to Pippet and also this bridge being raised kind of like they're shared scene flags over different regions. And so we just reload the area by dying, and then hey look, this bridge is open, so you know we don't need to go through all the boulder section and all that stuff. We don't need to. We can just, you know, run right past. So you know now we're just, you know, now we're running up some slopes here. You know, the usual. So, you know, good, you know, stamina management here. Right, so now, okay, so we're gonna kind of stay in this very specific spot here because the game normally wants us to like blow up boulders to the left so that we can, you know, avoid those boulders falling at us. But we can actually just not do that by mashing A slowly, and this is stutter sprinting. Stutter sprinting will kind of preserve your speed, and so we can make it up distances like that without having to do all like the stuff the game wants you to do. So now there are some stamina fruits here that are quite conveniently placed, so it's gonna, you know, we're just gonna be on a roll here. Alright, and now here we have the Earth Temple boss game. Now you're probably like, okay, yeah, that's cool, kid, but how does it look like a D? You'll see in a bit how people think that looks like a D. Right, so now it's gonna become, you know, Indiana Jones. Not full Indiana Jones. We don't have the whip yet. I say yet, we won't be getting the whip, but you know, boulder chasing is cool. Right, so I'm not gonna save here. I probably should for safety reasons, but I'm not, because, you know, I'm living life on that edge right now. And I mean, some of you will see this, some of you don't. You know, there's like, you know, like the little uptick that makes it kind of look like a D. I don't know. Again, I'm not picking sides here. Does it look like a D? Does it not look like a D? It looks like whatever that is. That's my take on it. So yeah, we now enter the second boss fight, Skaldera. Now, Skaldera is normally fought with bombs, but if you noticed earlier, we did not get any bombs. So we're now going to have to beat him without bombs. Conveniently, there are some bomb flowers right at the top of the arena that you'll see. And so, this fight, at least as far as any planet is concerned, is kind of a lot like bomb juggling. And it's I guess it's somewhat similar to Uklis Diababa from Twilight Princess, if you're familiar with that. In some ways, it's kind of similar to that. Although it kind of isn't, you'll get what I mean later. So, you know, after this fight text, because fight is, you know, a thing in this game. I'm sure you're well aware of it if you played it casually. This, do some funky movement, and now we're introduced to another cutscene. So, again, this fight is, without the bombs, this fight is very easy to kind of, I want to say soft lock. You don't really soft lock because you can just die and stuff, but it's like, again, it's very, very difficult. Because towards the end of the fights, Skaldera will be going all the way down to the end of the arena, where in order for the bombs at the top to reach him, Skaldera can only go to like the middle of it, right? So skip. And, you know, we don't have any bombs. I'm pressing the B button. Nothing's happening. But again, we see these bombs right at the start here. Okay, I'm not going to kill myself just yet, kind of out of safety, just in case I take too much damage here. Normally you'd damage down a little bit here, because you do want to be at low health. Alright, so I'm going to throw the first bomb here. And again, you'll notice how Skaldera will kind of stop in the middle here. That's what we want, so this bomb will actually reach him. And now I'm going to do a very, very specific amount of damage. Or try to. Yeah, there we go. It's a very specific amount of damage, so that Skaldera kind of stays in the middle for now. Again, all the way at the top, another bomb rolled down here. Once again, another specific amount of damage. Utilizing the Skyward Strike here. Right, so now, going behind him, because now we kind of want him to be at the end here. Right. Do this. Yeah, okay. Okay, not off, well, that's okay. Because we did a specific amount of damage there, we were able to actually hit Skaldera's eye with the Skyward Strike there. I think I can still do it again. Oh, that's very bad. That is incredibly bad. I should have been able to hit his eye there. I might have to die, which would be bad because I saved at the start of the dungeon. Well, I didn't save, so I will respawn at the start of the dungeon. Okay, I think I just have to tell you take the L here. This is lesson from what you shouldn't do. This is why you always safety save, kids, because then stuff like this happens. You get a little bit too confident, and then stuff like this happens. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so just explain why that didn't work there. Skaldera, Okay, I'm not at the start. I should just say that, but still, to explain why it didn't work there. Basically, that's like the whole reason why we were doing. I touched on this earlier, but I'll just go, you know, more explain better. We were doing a very specific amount of damage, there, to kind of to try and to be able to hit Scaldera at the end there with the Skyward Strike, which is kind of how it was possible to do it in the first place. But during that last part of the fight, we unfortunately did a I don't know if it was too much or too little damage, but we did the wrong amount of damage, so that meant that Scaldera was no longer able to be hit with the Skyward Strike, which is then bad, so then we have to now go back here. So that's what's not to do. I guess the general mistake there was that I kind of missed a few of those spin attacks at the end. So, that was kind of bad. But anyway. Alright, so we've already watched all the cutscenes, so we can just, walk through here. I believe we still have to watch the cutscene with Girahim kind of existing, so that's a bit of a shame. Right. Yeah, as I'm saying, this... Obviously, you normally would have the bombs for this fight. We don't here, so this fight is not easy. Alright, let's try this again, shall we? So again, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, again, I just kind of made a mistake right at the end there, and again, I did the wrong amount of damage to the point where Scaldera wasn't, where you couldn't hit him with the Skyward Strike. So we're going to do the same amount of damage here. Slash, spin attack. I don't like that. Too much damage, probably. I should save. I should really save before this, but oh well. Normally I'm better than this. Normally I can do this fight. I swear I swear my 110 there as a PB is not a fluke, guys. Okay, that's actually bad. I'm not making myself look like I'm good at this game right now, am I? Oh well. Okay, so that's fine. Scaldera should still get to the top of the arena here, so we're just gonna have to wait a little bit and not get hit by these fireballs. My guys, just take it as 3 hours time. It's fine. We got all day. Well, we don't. This is a speed run, but you know what I mean. Let's try that again. My dude eating their bombs. Alright, run behind. Skyward Strike here to get him down. There we go. Now he wants spin attacks, and now he's dead. This is what I wanted to do originally. So, there you are. The meatball has been defeated. So anyway, with the Earth Temple behind us, we should now finally have the Amber Tablet, and now we'll be able to head to Lanayru, where we can go do some funky stuff. Right, so on my splits, you'll see, enter Earth Temple, as splits there, Right below Earth Temple, you'll see enter Gorge. If you've played this game casually, you might be kind of scratching your head at that, like, hang on. You're not supposed to access the Lanayru Gorge immediately after Earth Temple. In fact, you're not meant to access the Lanayru Gorge until way later in the game. Well, that's the neat thing, is that we, as you've probably gathered here, we are not playing by the rules of normal casual games. We're going to do a few more back in time shenanigans when we get to Lanayru to kind of go out of bounds, and then we will essentially make our way into the Lanayru Gorge, which is where the boss rush minigame is, and then that is how we kind of quote unquote warp ourselves towards the end of the game, essentially. Again, I'll explain more when we get there, but yeah. Right, so cancel the plump. Now we want to go back into Earth Temple because For certain iterations of Back in Time, we actually want to have some flags from Earth Temple that will be set on our files. We didn't go out of our way to get any flags here, but you know, a lot of them were naturally on our file anyway. So save and then die, because once again, we're going to be doing more Back in Time shenanigans. It's like the 8th time or something. I've honestly lost track. It's been we've died a few times. So we're here, back in time. Right, so now we're going to bonk tree with file 1, and then actually we're going to collect this rupee with file 3. That will set a lot of the properties from file 3 onto Back in Time. Most notably, by doing that, we'll be able to place the Amber Tablet in Back in Time. So again, file 1, boom, the gates are open. Again, just a reminder, we bonked into the tree with file 1. And so now, when we select file 1, a lot of the properties from this file will carry over to Back in Time. Again, most notably that gate. We're not going to quite do a warp into the statue. We're essentially just going to place the tablet in Back in Time. Like we did when we placed the Emerald Tablet, we're going to place the Amber Tablet. We place the Amber Tablet in Back in Time. So again, and just a reminder, we're starting the file here just to just like speed up the loading time a tiny bit. No one really knows what happens. Oh well. Not file 3, with file 1. I'm going to start this file at a very specific point in this cutscene. There. And what that'll do, that will put the Amber Tablet on file 1. And so file 1 was saved here, you know, way earlier in the game, when we did the Skyview Back in Time stuff. And so now, as we enter back into the sky, you will probably notice that that will be a yellow beam as well as a green beam. There you go. And again, the Amber Tablet flag, because this is some Back in Time stuff, has been set on this, and now we are essentially able to head into Linearu on file 1. And we do lose a few things here. Like, we don't have the tunic because we got that on file 3, not file 1. So we will actually be finishing the run without the tunic, which is interesting. But yeah. So we're just going to be flying a little bit here. You know, just down here. Yeah, rando players are smirking right now at this bird speed. For those uninitiated, the randomizer for this game, Skyward randomizer, has a few like convenient tweaks. One of which being the bird speed is way faster. So, like, whilst you know in rando you can kind of zip around the sky and be really cool. In vanilla we kind of just have to wait a lot, and you know it's one of those annoying things where it's like when you get used to playing rando, it's hard to switch because then you go back to the vanilla game and it's like, oh well, you know, this bird speed kind of sucks. Anyway, I'll just point that out. So, again, we're now into Linearu. So, again, as I mentioned earlier, we can't get to the gorge normally, under normal circumstances. So, we're going to do more Back in Time to kind of get ourselves into the Linearu Gorge. Again, continue, reset the console, and voila. Right. Alright, okay. So, now here we're just going to do a standard bit warp. This is probably one of the less confusing things here. If it's still confusing, then I honestly don't blame you. This whole game is whack, I won't lie. So, I'm going to run up these things. Now, none of the 3 files are in a specific state where we can bonk into them and the flags will, and the gates will open. Again, it's really weird, that's why we didn't bonk into any trees. So, select file 1. Going to start the file and then save, and what that will do is I will only take the coordinates from Skyloft and apply them to here, and now we are way out of bounds right here. Yeah, you'll notice that it's a thing with Skyward Sword, is that there's a lot of collision just kind of, you know, just chilling out of bounds, and no one really knows why. Some people early on theorized that this part in particular has a lot of out of bounds collision because it's like a part in the credits or something, but there are out-of-bounds areas in other places, like the Linearu Gorge will have out-of-bounds places that we'll take advantage of. And obviously, you know, Eldin did as well, so it's unlikely that's the case, but oh well, no one really knows. So, you know, just more running, and then from this point here, we'll actually be able to access the Linear Caves, the cave system. And again, the cave system is another place that is, again, we're not meant to access on our first Linear trip. That's again a little bit later on in the game. But you know, we can just access it from here because, you know, the loading zone is active and we are out of bounds in a position where you can just, you know, jump down and go into it. And now here. And so, because the game hasn't progressed far enough ahead, the caves are in like this like weird state right now, where kind of like in this weird layer where some things are missing. So, you know, if you remember this game casually, you'll notice there's probably like there's like a Goron there and some rocks. But actually no, we could just, you know, kind of just walk in, and now boom, we are in the Linear Gorge. And this is where the fun begins. This is where all of like the funky stuff about this run happens, truly. So we're going to save here, and we're going to die. The fastest way of dying here is by using this bomb flower here and going into the void, just to speed up the animation a little bit. Once again, activate back in time. So now, in order to get the boss rush minigame, we need to set this general area of the gorge into the past. And that is done by having a minecart, or by doing like, or traditionally it's done by doing the minecart escort, which requires items and time. And quite frankly, we don't really have either of those things right now. So instead of trying to, you know, try to get the minecart normally, we're going to do a few iterations of back in time to force the minecart into the correct position. The first of which, this is just going to be a little bit of setup here that I'll be doing, just like set some flags to actually make this, to actually make it possible without items. We will have to do a little bit of the minecart escort towards the end. But again, we can skip a few things here. So, you know, bit save file 2. I had actually talk about it, but we're saving file 2 there to apply the Loftwing flag onto back in time, which is why we're able to get access the sky in the first place. So, you know, again, we're diving into this Farron pillar again, just a reminder, because the tutorial, because like the back in time state of Skyloft is set in these like tutorial, hence the text box. R3, yes. And so we have to kind of, the tutorial bounds don't extend towards the Farron pillar, so we have to now dive there. Now it's important that I select file 3 every single time here, because if I don't, then this place will be in the incorrect layer, and the log won't go down, and that's soft logging me. So this, enter file 3 here, and then because we entered this place with the correct file, this Goron is here, right? And then this file, this cutscene just starts, then we select file 1, press start, and then that's now, and that sets, you know, a few flags that we want. So now we've blown that up, and, okay, I tried to demonstrate by turning the camera. You can't really see, but there's like a rock in the distance that's also blown up, just naturally. And again, that happened because we set a scene flag in, or we set the scene flag of that cutscene playing, and that corresponded to the rock being blown up. So, and again, that's important because otherwise we'd have to blow it up with a bomb bag, which we don't have. So now we've done a bit of setup and awesome stuff like that, right? So now we're gonna now we are able to do the last part of the minecart escort. So now what we need to do is we need to place the minecart in the correct spot, so it is actually at the end of the escort. So again, similar to last time, a lot of these iterations back in time will be what's it? They'll be very similar. We'll be bit saving file 2 to get Loftwing here, and we'll be entering Farron, right? So that, yeah. And so yeah, so now we need to get the minecart right at the end, right? And this is done by activating by activating the Machi quest in Farron right here. For those of you who played the vanilla game, you know that during your first Farron visits. Okay, this is quite bad. Let me rectify this. I failed to dive a little bit there. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Very just focus, because I need to not mess this up. I could, but it'll lose a few minutes, and I'd rather not do that. should be fine. Should be kind of. So yeah. Those who played this casually will probably remember, you know, Machi, all the Kikris from the first Farron visit, where you had to kind of, you know, chase them around and do some stuff like that. Okay, okay. Yeah, this you're kind of blind when you're doing this dive, so it's a bit technical here. And so, you know, in the run we skipped it at the time, but we will be visiting our boy Machi just because we just, you know, extract some files out of him. So yeah, you know, so, you know, back into Farron a bit, and yeah, right, bang. Press A. This log now is down. Access this with file 2 here, so this Goron isn't here. Again, entering certain loads with certain files selected will make those scene files persist. Pressing A, the log is now in the right place. And because we want Machi to actually be there, again, selecting file 2, entering like the main forest area, Farron area, you know, the main part of Farron Woods. So a little bit more movement to get to Machi right here. And yeah, there he is, my boy, being terrorized by 2 bokoblins. It's okay, because we're going to kill these bokoblins. You know, we have the swords back in time, so Skyward Strike, and they are both dead. And now we talk to Machi with file 1 selected. And what we are going to be doing is starting file 1. At this point, then pressing the A to clear that text box, and now a certain temporary flag is set on our file. So we're just gonna commit that by walking into this. I haven't really touched on committing certain flags, but this game's kind of weird. If you don't like do a certain action, certain like scene flags that we take from back in time won't actually apply properly to the file until we've done another. Until we set another flag, i.e. bonking into that pillar there, which revealed the rupee. So by doing that, the flag is now comfortably set in here. Although, it is temporary, so if we like died, for example, and we reloaded the area, then the flag will reset, so we need to not do that. Although, I said that, I just died here. Although I did reset the console, so the flag is still present, because we still haven't technically died from the last point we saved. I know, it's complicated. We still have the flag. We still have the temporary flag. That's what you need to know. So again, we're going up here. Again, none of these files will be able to open the gates by bonking into trees. So we still have to just run over the railing. And similarly to what we did earlier, start the file and then save. So, okay, yeah. You can alternatively start the file and save simultaneously. That will produce the same result. I'm just doing it starting then saving because it's slightly faster. Although it is a bit risky because if you start too early and you don't save in time, either straight up doesn't work or you get like a glitch state where everything's kind of weird. So you know it's not. If you're a new runner, then I'd recommend just saving and starting at the same time. So again, more out of bounds movement here. Now, you'll notice that the out of bounds movement, or out of bounds area, only extends to like a specific point here. And so normally we're kind of trapped here, but actually with some precise stuff here and a bit of technical funky movement here and setup, I should in theory be able to just hop up here and we're fine. That's known as jank jump because that jump is incredibly jank. Sometimes, sorry, I'm losing my voice. Yeah, so yeah, again, jank jump. Sometimes that jump will work first try. Sometimes it'll happen where what I did here, where Link will kind of just fall, and like it's not RNG at all. It's just the jump itself is like pretty precise. The point where like and it's like, you know, it's a 360-degree nunchuck, so it's kind of hard to gauge, and you know, so sometimes you can get it first try, sometimes you get not first try. It's jank. That's the best way of putting it. So, and because we did the Machi quest, this minecart is now here, and because we did that, Setup RBM. That rock here is now blown up, so we don't have to do anything about that. And now we wait for a minute. And during that time, I'm going to stop talking, because my voice is starting to disappear. A lot of people, as they wait for that, like to do some kind of like funky stuff. Like I like to do some like unbuffered brake sliding. Some people like to, you know, cut grass and stuff. But yeah. So, now, the minecart itself is in the correct place. Now what we need to do is like kind of set the Thunder Dragon to the point where the Thunder Dragon is healed so we can actually start the boss fight. Or by the boss rush mini stuff. And the flag for that corresponds to that is, once again in Farron, it's 2x20 is what it's technically known as, but basically it's the cutscene just before you enter Skyview. So we're going to be going pretty much all the way through Deep Woods once again to get to that point. So again, back at Farron, bit save file 2 to get Loftwing, enter Skyward file 2. So, the usual stuff. Probably getting tired. All this dying and stuff is, you know, pretty tiring, I won't lie. Don't worry, everyone, this is the last iteration of Back in Time, so if you're confused, it won't last for too long. You know, you will have something late next to be confused about, i.e. Girim re-escape. We'll get to that one thing at a time here. So once again, diving into the Farron pillar, like so, to reach it, and selecting file 3 after the cutscene is played a specific amount, so the game doesn't crash. Alright, so go here, file 1. Okay, Elzimi in chat asks a very good question. Why do I heal before Back in Time if I have to be at 2 hearts to explode with a bomb? I heal 2 hearts for Girim 3 escape later because I want to be at 3 hearts there. And it's actually slightly, I believe it's slightly faster to heal there whilst the minecart is setting instead of healing another point. It does mean dying is slightly slower, but then we don't have to take any extra time healing. So that's the reason why we are at 3 hearts now. I should have really explained that, but yeah, like faster questions. Alright, so now we're at this point, back into Farron, and similar to the previous RBM that we did to get to Skyview, we now have to die to reload the area. Again, with file 1, just copy here, just so I can use the joystick freely, like that. And now this place is reloaded. If you're playing this and your Wii is at a specific setting, then you might actually be experiencing lag as you go up those vines. So like for example, my Wii is set to the 4:3 ratio, so therefore, for whatever reason, the 4:3 ratio lags way less than the 16:9 standard ratio, or the widescreen ratio. Sorry. The game still looks like it's 16:9 because it's built right that way, so it's just small on my screen. But yeah, it's just one thing I thought I'd notice is that if you are experiencing lag at that point, then that's normal. I'm just not because my Wii has optimized settings on. Alright, so select file 1, start the cutscene, and then as Link escapes the thing, we're going to start the file, and then the camera will switch. The scene flag will be set. 2x20 technically will be onto file 1, and fire will pop up saying that the Thunder Dragon is now healed. Cool. Right, so. Yeah, now we just activate the time stone here, and now, boom. My dude, the Thunder Dragon, Linnea, I believe is his name, will pop up. And yeah, so if we were at 2 hearts there, we'd have to heal on our way here, and that healing takes time. So it's faster, it's slightly faster to do it whilst you're naturally waiting for the minecart. Right. So that's all the back in time stuff done. But we're not done with the tricks. Because boss rush minigame is just a minigame. You're not meant to access the end of the game here. But we're going to do that anyway. So I'm selecting Girahim here, the 3rd iteration of the Girahim fight. I'm going to enter into this point. Add boss rush, and as you see on my thing, we're going to be doing a on my splits. We're going to be doing a trick called Girahim 3 Escapes. Girahim 3 Escape. Sorry. Oh, yeah, he's not being very cooperative. I won't lie. So, after nearly dying and or after nearly getting punched and failing this already, don't do that. That's just me being dumb. We're going to knock Girahim off here, and we're going to kind of hang off here. Just to, wait for him. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, he gets up, we count to 4, and then we knock him off again. Doing this will set Girahim and his platforms to kind of get in like the right position so that we will be able to access a bird statue that's actually here. And by being able to access the bird statue, we'll actually be able to load into the real Girahim fight, which is at the end of the game. 2, 3, 4, jump down, start slashing as early as possible. And it's important here to be as quick as possible, just so that, because again, the platforming here, the platforming here gets really tricky, and if you're a little bit off, sometimes this trick can just fail for no reason. Alright, so, 1, so only count to 2, get back up, backflip. If I've done this right, he's walking towards the yes, and now I get punched. Jump down like that. Okay, actually this might not work. This might not work. Okay, no, we're fine. Yeah, my angle was a little bit off there, but that's fine. Yeah, again, the platform was, we kind of manipulated the platform to the point where it's in the right place, and so therefore we were able to jump out of bounds into the statue. And so by reloading whilst we're in the Girahim fight, we now spawn in the real Girahim fight, which is at the end of the game. So now we're kind of stuck here, but with some funky movement here. Funky technical movement here that's a bit tricky. Come on, Link. Come on, Link. Link is not cooperating with me right now. Come on, Link. Do the butt slide. Do the butt slide. That's not the butt slide, Link. Come on. There we go. Link is now sliding on his butt upwards because physics apparently doesn't apply to him in that moment. And now we need to jump back out of bounds again. Luckily, there is this sort of part here where we can just, just jump out of if I get the right angle. There we go. Right. Yeah, collision in this game, as I just run up to talk about collision. Collision in this game is very, very solid, except for there. And a few other places, but like mainly there it's weird because it's like, out of bounds in Skyward Sword doesn't really exist. Most of the collision is like, yeah, really solid. But then there's points like that where, you just kind of, set yourself up and then you just go, yeah, Link, front hop, grubber. So yeah. Alright, so now we're gonna run up this here. We are gonna void out here and kind of reach the floor of the void out plane here, and now him is now over here for some reason. We don't really want him over here, so now we're going to just kind of knock him back in bounds where he belongs, like that. It's important that we do that in a very specific way, because if he doesn't land, like if he still lands out of bounds, like improperly, the game might crash. So it's important that we don't do that and get him properly back in bounds. So now he's back in bounds, we are going to essentially fight him like normal. The platform is rising at a pretty quick rate, which makes it a little bit awkward at times. Like there, I didn't quite jump down with him. But either way. Alright, so the first phase. So. Right, so normally in casual games you'll have like the properly upgraded Master Sword, you'll have all these things. Because we just warped into this fight, we only have the Goddess Sword, which is incredibly weak. It's basically a glorified toothpick. So here we have to do a little bit of funky damage strats here. If we want to be optimal. So I'm kind of balancing between normal stabs and Skyward stabs. It's a little bit tricky to get it optimally. So like here I only have a very small window of time to hit that stab. I did just make it look way easier than it actually. Okay, and there's also I can mess this up. But yeah, I didn't make that look way easier than it actually is. It's actually pretty difficult. Yeah, like it's easy to fail at that. But yeah, so this is not optimal, but oh well. As long as we don't die, we should be fine. Yeah, because dying here is very bad, because we actually respawned back out of bounds. It's still in the fight, so it's not the end of the world, but we still have to, like, you know, do the butt slide again, hop out of bounds. Still have to do all that stuff again. So now, onto the third phase. If we had the fully upgraded True Master Sword, this would only take 2 hits. But we don't, you know, glorified toothpick, and I'm not paying attention to my stamina. So this actually takes 8 hits. That's the third. And optimally, if you're paying attention, unlike me, you would actually be managing your stamina here. So at at this point here, I'm not going to spin attack. I'm just going to do some regular flashes there. Yeah, that's just why I didn't do the first time, and I ended up running out of stamina. So one more, we'll do it. There we are. Okay, so. Right, so now is there just the regular demise fights left to go. And I'm going to do this blindfolded. Because I can. You know, demise is a very scripted fight. It's quite a challenging fight, but also quite a... I guess, I don't want to say it's easy, but once you know the ropes of demise, it's, you know, it's like a choreographed dance every single time. So, demise, like doing this fight blindfolded is often a very cool spectacle, and yeah. It's often something fun that we like to do at the end of marathon runs or anything like that. So that's the first phase. Second phase is a bit more challenging. We'll have to be very careful and time this backflip. There, nice. The rest of this should be okay. Seeing I don't mess this up, I should have a Scout Strike here. So, a few more things. Bang. GG. And yeah, quite challenging, but when you get the fight down, it's basically the same every single time. So, there we go. That is the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword 80% speedrun in 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 55 seconds. There were a lot of mistakes here. Quite a few. I missed the Wing Summary cutscene skips. Goldero was a mess. And there's probably a few tiny things as well in there. Like, for example, I lost a bit of time on the Girahim splits. I lost a bit of time on the Enter Gorge. On the minecart split right there. I lost a bit of time there. But yeah, no. That is the run. Like, if I was doing this in like a tournament race or something, I probably would not be happy with this time. I typically much prefer to get like 112s, 111s, 113s. Okay, optimally 110s, 109s, like PBs, but PBs aren't gonna happen every single time. If you watching this, the runner, thinking about submitting this for a marathon, then at least at the top level, a good estimate is 120. Or at least a very good way of working out estimate is by kind of, at least for this leg run, is by taking your current PB and plotting it by 10 minutes. If you're still a low to mid tier runner, you might want to add another like 15 minutes or 20 minutes, or just kind of use like your worst runs as a baseline. For me, I would say that a 1 hour 20 is a good estimate. I very rarely get, like, I don't say this is a worst case scenario run, but a 116 again, I would not be very happy with this, and I very rarely, like, I can't remember the last time I got anything below this in recent memory. So, again, if I were running this at a tournament at a marathon, I would set my estimate as a 120. And yeah. Again, links in the Skyward outfit because we never got the tunic on this file. So yeah. You probably can't read the Japanese text, but in English that would say, Fi has confirmed the eradication of the Demon King. Epic, that only took like an hour and a bit. So, yeah. So yeah, if anyone has any kind of questions, feel free to join the Skyward Sword speedrunning Discord. If future me is not dumb, that should be in the description of this video, an invite to the Skyward Sword speedrunning Discord. That's all I really have to say. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys later.